when you're talking about a guy that you're going to say, this is a guy that's going to lead us to a world championship, I can't say yes. I can't say, because when I looked at that tape, I said it was a playoff game. This is when quarterbacks have to elevate their game and their team's game, and he just didn't do it. Now,
as advertised, our dear friend from NFL Films, Ron Jaworski, joins us now, and he jumps aboard with us here on the National Football Show. Jaws, am I right that the nation now with the National Football League, man, I mean, it's a 24/7 operation, isn't it? Where, I mean, the storylines, the headlines, they lead the way all the time. The NFL has done such a great job of marketing it when there is no football.
Dan, first of all, great to be with you. Not really nice to see that Buccaneers jersey and helmet behind you. Throws me back to 1979 when those creamsicles beat us in a playoff game down in Tampa. So you're already ruining my day right now. You are. It's great to be with you as usual, and you are correct. The NFL is a machine. I mean, from a fan involvement, from a sponsor involvement, from just doing things the right way for the most part. Hey, when you're a machine like they are, there's always going to be some bumps in the road, but no one does it better than the NFL. I mean, it's 360, 24 hours a day, 365, 24 hours a day for the NFL. They're amazing.
Absolutely. Ron, let's get into the Eagles here. Do you believe Jalen Hurts is the future of this football team?
Well, we know he will be for 1 year. The question that people ask me, and obviously, I'm in Philadelphia. I've watched every ball Jalen Hurts has thrown as an Eagle, as an Alabama Crimson Tide, and out there in Oklahoma as well. So I know the kid's talent, and he's got good talent. He can be a quarterback in this league for 10 years. What I'm always asked is the ceiling. What's the ceiling for him? And I think there is a ceiling. I wouldn't say that necessarily about maybe Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert. You watch these guys, there's a little bit more there of the upside. But Jalen brings something that they can't do, like he has shown he can do, and that's the ability to take that run option first. It's good and it's bad. So that is always my concern. And I'll go back just a little bit. I was in Tampa Bay for the Eagles playoff game against the Buccaneers. I called that game with Tom McCarthy for Westwood One. And obviously, deep down inside, I pull for the Eagles, but when I'm calling a game, I'm as 50-50 down the middle as I can be. And at one point, the game was 31-0 Tampa Bay. I know you can smile now, Dan. It was 31-0. And Jalen was just having a nightmarish kind of game. And just calling the game, I could see, guys were open. He was one and done, looking to one receiver. And if the read wasn't there, he was taken off. And quarterbacks that run because they can. And you've almost got to, it's like a trotter at a horse race. They break. And you got to break that habit from quarterbacks that want to run and not go through your progression. So, then I looked at the tape of that game and I said, my goodness, he just didn't have a very good game at all. And when you're talking about a guy that you're going to say, this is a guy that's going to lead us to a world championship, I can't say yes. I can't say, because when I looked at that tape, I said it was a playoff game. This is when quarterbacks have to elevate their game and their team's game. And he just didn't do it. Now, so there's going to be more pressure on him right now to perform at a winning playoff game level. He had a really rock solid season. He's a different kind of quarterback. He's not going to beat you with the finesse passing game. He's going to beat you with the finesse passing game and his legs, which, Nick Sirianni figures that's what he's got. He's going to give him another shot this year. We'll find out. The kid we know is a terrific young man. He'll work his tail off. By all accounts, everyone in the locker rooms loves the kid. The organization loves him. He's the kind of kid you want your daughter to marry. Just that kind of guy. And so hey, I root for him. I want him to do great. But if people ask me an objective question, I say, I can't say he's the guy.
And I'll say this to you, Jaws, and tell me if you agree or disagree. I think there's a low ceiling. I think the style of play is a low ceiling. Vic, Lamar Jackson, we're even seeing injuries there. That RPO style, all the quarterbacks that I saw in the postseason, these are 7-step droppers, winning from the pocket. And, I'm talking with Brian Baldinger, during training camp, and he goes, man, this guy's got to get off one read. And you were hearing guys like you and guys like Troy Aikman screaming, going, dude, the guy single coverage is open. He's single coverage is open. You're never going to get Devontae Smith to where he wants to go in an RPO system, it seems to me. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right about progression reading, and I think the guys that stay in this game a long time and have great success are progression readers, and they run at the end. Their last option is to run and break the pocket, and it's not about just going through your progression. It's about going through your progression quickly. When you break the huddle, you anticipate what the coverage is going to be. Hey, I did this for 17 years. When you break the huddle, the play is called to anticipate a certain coverage, a certain front. You kind of hoping you get it because that's what the play is called for, but you don't always get it. In fact, you're lucky if you get it about 25% of the time. So now in your pre-snap phase, you're walking the line of scrimmage, you must read the coverage pre-snap, get an idea, and maybe get the availability of the coverage up to about 50%. But there's still 50% you could be dead wrong at. So once the ball is snapped is when all hell breaks loose, because now what you see is not necessarily what you get. And that quick 5-step drop, 2.1 seconds, you've got to read literally 11 people. You literally have to read 11 people in that short of a time span. So it's not only reading the coverage, it's reading the coverage quickly and breaking it down and knowing where to go with the football. And that doesn't take a year. It doesn't take 2 years. It takes a long time. Some guys think they mastered after a couple of years. Tom Brady's still working at it, because coverages change every year. The looks you get change every year. The rules change every year. So if you're not constantly working, getting better, you don't last long in this league. And that's why, as you know, Dan, the NFL career right now is 3.1 years. When you look at the 1,600 some odd players in the league, they're going to play for 3.1 years on the average. Not a long time.
Absolutely not. Jaws, let me throw this at you here too. You don't really see a lot of movement in free agency. You saw what they gave Tagovailoa down in Miami. You got a guy who had 104 catches in Jalen Waddle a year ago. That was with Jacoby Brissett and Tua. Now you add Tyreek Hill. You see all these other places trying to find quarterbacks and wide receiver combos. I just don't see the Eagles getting him enough help in that huddle. Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, a very young Devontae Smith. These guys are almost all on rookie deals too. Wouldn't a veteran wide receiver help his game? If Amari Cooper can help Dak Prescott, wouldn't a veteran wide receiver help Jalen Hurts out and maybe understanding progressions like you're talking?
Yeah. Dan, they tried. They tried this offseason. They just couldn't land anybody. They couldn't get any of the receivers that were available to come to Philadelphia for various and sundry reasons. Who knows why? Probably money. When you get on the market of free agent, usually the big paycheck wins. But yeah, I think clearly the miss on Rager last year has come back to haunt him. When you see what Justin Jefferson is doing in Minnesota, I mean, Mike Quick and I are still very good friends, and Mike lives about a drive or a 9-iron from me. So we talk all the time. I talk quarterbacks, he talks receivers around draft time. He knows I study the quarterbacks. He studies the receivers. And we pretty much, that year, we had them kind of the same. We had Jefferson ahead of Rager, and when the Eagles took Rager ahead of Jefferson, we were both kind of surprised. Now, not that we're experts. They have a lot more experts on on the Eagles staff than we do, but we felt it was pretty cut and dry that Jefferson was the guy. And I think in hindsight, you can always say, "Oh yeah, look, the numbers have borne that out." But I think the Eagles expected more from Rager in the kickoff game. And the punting game, and he didn't give that to him. That's one area I would say I projected him to be, a guy that's going to, give you some punt returns, give you some kick returns. He didn't. That part didn't come into his game. But, if they would have hit on Rager, along with Devontae Smith, along with Quez Watkins, along with Dallas Goedert, now you see you could have a lot more weapons. So I think the miss on Rager has really come back to haunt them. Now, hey, kid's only even going his third year. Who knows? Maybe he'll have that epiphany and break out of it and become a great player. But he hasn't shown that yet.
Jaws, do you look at the trade? Gary Cobb and both Barrett Brooks and I, we all said this team needs players, not draft picks. I mean, they need playmakers and guys who move the sticks. There's no question getting another one and another two, fundamentally, Jaws, you add to the treasure chest of what you have. But like you said, some of the misses, the Derek Barnetts and some of these other guys that they've not landed on that one pad that they've needed to land has really come back to bite them, both defensively and offensively, if you want to really look at it. How do you look at this trade?
Yeah, I actually like the trade. I don't particularly know exactly what the Eagles' salary cap situations be, or guys are going to re-sign, or guys they may try to sign. There's a lot that plays into what they're doing. You have 3 first-round picks. And at the end of the day, it's going to cost you a lot of money 4 or 5 years from now. It's going to cost you. And I think Howie gets a little bit of a bad rap. Yeah, he's made some mistakes. I mean, it's a crapshoot. Dan, you and I, but you played this game. I played this game. We've seen these high draft choices come in and they stink.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at Jordan. I mean, look at to your point, Jordan Mailata, 7th rounder, is a potential 15-year guy. And some of the guys that we talk about in the first round, I mean, it just it really is the luck of the draw sometimes on where you go and what system you fit in.
And if you had Barrett Brooks and Gary Cobb, Philadelphia guys on your show, you know how much everyone in this town loves Jordan Mailata. It's just a great success story with Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach, finding this kid that never put on a football helmet, never played football before in his life. And I still remember when his rookie year, the Eagles invite me to their rookie dinner. It's in the locker room when they draft all the rookies, and we sit around it. And this damn big old guy come walk in the room. I said, "Who the hell is that guy?" And someone said, "He's a rugby player." I said, "I don't care what he." I mean, he blocked the sunlight from the door when he walked in. 6'7", 360 pounds, and a dancing bear. I mean, the feet, the movement. Now, hey, it took him a couple years to learn how to play in the NFL, but you said it. They've got a 10 to 12-year all-pro left tackle now because they found the guy. You can knock first and second round draft choice, but finding this guy in the 7th round in Australia, I mean, that's some scouting, my friend.
Absolutely there. Jaws, let me ask you a fundamental historical question about your Eagles. And I've been covering them a lot more now since we're based in Philadelphia. And let me say this to you. I looked at the history of Harold Carmichael is the #1 all-time leading yardage guy. You've got guys that were playing in the game 40 years ago. You've had one 4,000-yard passer in the history of the franchise. You've had one 1,000-yard receiver. I think Jeremy Maclin was the last guy. I mean, the fundamentals of this team is running the ball. Why do you hear ownership wanting to have a prolific passing game when, Jaws, you were a physical football team going all the way back to your time? You threw to Carmichael. You threw to Mike Quick. Those guys are still 1-3 all time. It's not the history of the franchise. The history of the franchise is like with my boy Jerome Brown, kicking your ass on defense, point of attack, 3rd down efficiency, which you were awesome at. That's what made that. Why do you think ownership and the front office want to try to get away from that identity? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right. And I think you have to look at the identity of the National Football League right now.
Okay.
And again, I hate to talk about the good old days, when we played the game, because we hear enough of that stuff, I used to hear about that from Chuck Bednarik when I was playing, and I said, "Chuck, forget it, man. You were the old timer. I don't want to be. I'm never going to whine like Chuck Bednarik used to."
I got to show you this before you go on. Watch this. So my uncle's this guy.
No, Andy Robustelli from the New York
so
Football
when you talk
Giants.
to those guys, I used to tell my uncle all the time, you guys rolled your helmets up and put them in your back pocket. He goes, "Son, okay, let me just tell you something, all right? Try playing 14 years. I'm like, all right. I get the old man get off my lawn, guys. And you're right. The game has evolved, hasn't it, Jaws?
But as I was an owner of the Philadelphia Soul of the Arena Football League for a lot of years. And I would play in the NFL now like this, like the Arena Football League.
Yeah.
Because the rules allow the passing game to flourish. You can't touch a guy after 5 yards. I do remember the old days, Willie Brown and some of those guys in the corner, and Lester Hayes and Mullen guys. Now they touch a guy with a fingernail 5 yards down the field. I wouldn't waste my time running the football. I could easily say, it's not football anymore. That's not smash mouth football. You got to be the physical. No, the rules have changed. The only time like in the Arena Football League, I would rest my quarterback's arm and may call a draw play one time. I'd be slinging all over the place because the rules allow you to do that. And by the way, Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, they want to be a passing team. They tried to be a passing team last year at the start of the season with Jalen Hurts throwing 48 times a game. They couldn't win a game. So they evolved back to running the football game, playing to the strength of their offense, which was the running game and their multiple running backs that they like to use. So they couldn't win throwing the football. They had to win being balanced on offense. But as the game evolved, not only in the NFL, but you look at what college is doing, what high school is doing, what these summer leagues are doing, it's all throw ball because the rules let you do it. And by the way, you know what? By the way, Dan, you can't touch the quarterback anymore either.
Yeah, dude, could you imagine you and Sims? I mean, my God Almighty, you guys. I mean, you guys would have played 50 years. I got two last questions for you,
Sure.
Jaws. I don't know what credit card the Rams are using when it comes to building a team. I mean, here's one team like the Eagles, Jaws, that got all these draft choices for the next 2 years, massive amount of draft choices. And then you look at the Rams and you're like, okay, these guys don't care. I think they have another draft in the first round, another pick in the first round in 2050. Is that a new thing in the NFL too, Jaws, that you think like the last two Super Bowl champions have really been built through free agency more so than really having core guys on the team? Is that just evolving that way as well?
I don't know if there is an evolution to it. I think there are two ways to do it. Obviously, the Rams, the Buccaneers, the last few Super Bowl champions have shown the free agent market, fill in the holes, pay guys a lot of money. That has worked. We've also seen historically, the Patriots way and, build it through the draft and that sort of thing and build it with your own. I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way because we've seen it work either side. You can build through the draft or you can sign free agents. But if you look at, it's a copycat league. All of a sudden the Rams win it, the Buccaneers win it with free agency. Everyone's saying, hey, that's the way to win it. So let's spend some money. And that's what teams I think will evolve to, but it'll eventually come back. I'm a believer kind of in the draft first. Give me good young players that are going to be there for 10 years, although you can't say that anymore because by the time to get that second contract, it's money time. Show me the money at that point. So I don't think there is a right way or a wrong way. It's a philosophy that the front office would have.
Do you believe Tom Brady pushed Bruce Arians out?
No, hell no. They had a really, really good relationship. I don't think.
By the way, I'm having him on tomorrow, and I agree with you. I think it's media stuff, right?
Come on. This you just said we're 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Hey, let's talk about Brady because you know what? People perk up. Let's talk about Brady. Hey, what happened with Bruce Arians? Nothing. What do you mean nothing happened? Something had to happen. Let's fabricate a story. Let's manufacture one. That's what fans want. That's why you and I are talking.
Absolutely.
People want to hear what we have to say.
Play today, could he?
Who's that?
Lawrence Taylor couldn't play today in today's NFL.
No,
just because of the way he hit people.
He'd be in jail. He'd be in jail. Hey, Lawrence. It was funny when I played against him, twice a year. People think I put him in the Hall of Fame. He sacked me so many damn times, but I always thought, and Lawrence and I played golf in the offseason a few times when he came into the league, and I really think he liked me. Because he had some really opportunities to dislodge my neck from my shoulders and ram my face in the ground. And he would kind of just wrap me up gently and put me on the ground. So, because I got to befriend him a little bit on the golf course. But but Dan, I was at a Eagles Hall of Fame dinner a few months ago, and they showed the highlights of Jerome Brown and Reggie White and Seth Joyner. Those guys would be in jail. From the hits that they spearing with the helmet, taking guys. The game is different now. And I quite honestly, I will say for a better way. I think they realize we did it for a long time. It's a violent game, and to see the game being played differently now is okay with me. Now in the beginning, I'm saying, they're making it too soft and too easy. But now, when I think of my 17-year career and 30 concussions and all those things, hey, I'm glad they're making the game a little easier.
Final question for you. Dick Vermeil going into the Hall of Fame, you had to be thrilled to death to see a guy who took over a program in Philly, then took over a program in St. Louis, and they were just completely down, and then turned those two teams into championship teams. Even his tenure when he was in Kansas City, you had to be thrilled to death for him.
No question. And when I got word that he is going to get inducted in the Hall of Fame when he got in, it was like tears are coming down my eyes. I called him as soon as I got word, and he was in the airport in San Francisco going to his Napa Valley winery, and I'm talking to him in the airport, and we're both crying like little babies. It is such a tremendous honor and to play for that guy. And you talked about the teams that he led into great success. Dick Vermeil was the kind of guy, if you put him in charge of IBM or a major corporation, they would be successful because he knows how to treat people the right way. He was tough, he was hard, he was demanding, but he was also compassionate, and he cared about people, and he knew how things work. You could take individuals and put them together and make them work. And that's what Dick Vermeil did. It was a long coming, like it was for Harold Carmichael getting the Hall of Fame, but I could not be more proud to be a part of a group of Harold Carmichael and Dick Vermeil when we'll be in early August in Canton, Ohio, when Dick goes up on that stage. So I'm very, very excited and could not be happier.
Jaws, can I sneak one more in?
Sure, you got it, Dan. I'll talk to you all day if you want.
Doug Peterson. The success that you think he has in Jacksonville and the success you think he has with Trevor Lawrence.
I think he'll have great success. He understands the quarterback position. I still think it's a travesty he lost his job in Philadelphia. In fact, I don't think any coach, all the guys that got fired, the Mike Smiths of the world and Bill O'Brien, all those guys that lost their jobs, during a pandemic. I think it was unfair. It wasn't. You couldn't coach fairly. There was no offseason, no preseason, and I just think it was totally unfair that coaches lost their job. But I'll get off of that and say I think Doug is a terrific coach. And I've known him since the early 90s when he was with the Miami Dolphins. So we go way, way back. He understands the quarterback position. He understands personality and team building. The key is he understands the quarterback position. He's been around the Marinos, the Favres as a backup quarterback. He's been around great coaches like Mike Holmgren and Steve Mariucci, guys that understand the quarterback position. So Trevor Lawrence will be protected. I'll guarantee he'll think protection first with Trevor Lawrence, and he will build a team around him. Hey, it probably won't happen this year. It'll happen year 2 and year 3. I think the people in Jacksonville should be excited that they've got a guy with great charisma, great leadership skills leading that organization. Now, they got to leave him alone now. They got to leave him alone. There's a reason the Jaguars have struggled. They're not leaving the damn coach alone. And you got to let the coach, let him put it together, and let him fail on his own or succeed on his own. Don't have all his owners meddling and GMs meddling and all those things. Let him coach.
Well, once they got Urban Liar out of there, this thing, I love Urban Meyer. I mean, I hate Urban Meyer because I think he was a BS artist, and that was never going to fly with NFL guys. And I said this before about Doug and Frank Reich. I go, one of the reasons that the Eagles won that Super Bowl, you had 2 perennial backup quarterbacks behind great guys looking at that guy, Nick Foles, going, I know what you're going through, and I know what you need. I'm going to lead you there. And when you have, to me, Jaws, the greatest moment in Super Bowl history is this. How about the Philly special? Cool, let's run it. Go ahead.
That's right. Yeah,
I'm like this.
Yeah.
Dude, that's coaching.
Well, you listen to your quarterback. Hey, they got to feel. He's got to execute it, not the guy on the side with the headphones on. The coach had to execute it. And by the way, you mentioned Urban Meyer, and I knew he was done when he didn't get on that plane in Cincinnati. And hey, Dan, players, you played. I know players, I played. Once he didn't get on that plane with his team after a game, it was done. D-O-N-E. Stick a fork in him. That's not leadership. I mean, you could be the greatest X's and O guy in the world. If you don't stand with your team through thick or thin as a head coach, a coach, or even a player, see you later, because you're never going to win with guys like that, or I and me, not we.
Coach, I've never seen a coach, Jaws, never get on an airplane with a team because he wanted to stay behind unless he was sick or something. I had never seen that or heard of that, and I'm like, man, you're supposed to go in the good and in the bad, man.
That's right.
I could never see Jimmy Johnson.
I said he was done. He was done. I don't care how many apologies he could make, how many times the owner called him in. He was done. When you lose respect for the guys you're coaching and leading, you don't have a chance.
Absolutely. Jaws, it's been great talking with you, man. I know you're swamped all the time, and you always find time for me. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it.
Can I come over and take that helmet and that Leroy Selman jersey down?
Leroy right here goes.
No, I love Leroy Selman.
Hey, let me tell you something.
Man.
One of the greatest people, I tell everyone this, the most unblockable guy. He's the best 3-technique defensive end in a 34 defense in history, and one of the nicest people. And when I got drafted to the Buccaneers, he gave me this. And he gave me all this stuff, and I was like, I was such an honor. I wore 93 in college at Miami because of him, And Jaws, he used to kill you too, boy.
Hey, but you know, I would still go to his restaurant over by the stadium.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Leroy Selman's. Jaws, thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Always a pleasure being with you.
You bet, my friend.